Hi, this is my Chibson Les Paul. Well, I bought one. This is what the headstock looks like. This is what the body looks like. I hope you can see it good. I was just playing it earlier, at quite a loud volume. I'm having some issues with my amp going in and out. Probably just edit that out though. But it has a really nice wood top. This is probably a veneer, as a lot of people have said. I'm just here to talk about what I generally think of the guitar that I bought. I bought this for $200. It was $200 shipped, free shipping. They were having a sale. It was like $190 something, but I just round up to $200. I think that it's pretty nice. The differences between this and a real Les Paul, like let's say you wanted to avoid buying a counterfeit, you'd have to, one of the big dead giveaways. One of the big giveaways for Chibson like this is the bridge has these little flathead screwdriver mounts like an Epiphone has. These are the original pickups. Has nice binding on it. It has a scarf joint. I don't think that I'm really willing to show because I mean the likelihood of the lighting being good enough and you seeing it is pretty low. What do I think of it? I think it's pretty nice. I was really excited when I got it the first month. I got this back in probably late December. I ordered it as a Christmas present for myself. I don't think I would ever buy a $3,000 Les Paul. That is completely out of the question for me. Even just having this around, even though I know that it's fake, I feel like it's really weird having this because I feel like it's a $3,000 guitar. I'm not saying that it's the same quality or anything, but it's really weird that I have this and I'm bringing it down to my basement because normally when I would see something like this, I wouldn't even touch something like this at Guitar Center. I mean, I have quite a collection of guitars. I'm not saying that all my guitars are cheap, but a Les Paul standard is something that is always going to be unattainable for me. I don't think I could ever spend $3,000 on a real Les Paul standard. Now, I think that if you compare this to an Epiphone like this, like a Slash Epiphone, I'm just going to let you see it. I think that for $200, this is a lot better deal than an Epiphone because for an Epiphone like this, you'd probably pay anywhere, if you're going to buy it new, it'd be like between, it would be around $6. You could probably get one used for around $350 or so. I think it's really nice. Let's see. This is not my first Chibson that I've ever bought. The frets on it are really good. I mean, there's no buzz outs or anything. What I was playing, I mean, you can't really hear the tone of the guitar very well, but I'm going to play a little bit more so you can hear it. Basically, a top like this on a guitar, if it was a real name brand Gibson, would be a lot of money. I've had an Epiphone Les Paul Studio, and to even get a studio like that is quite a bit of money. You're looking at like $1,200 unless you buy used. Sometimes you can get a Les Paul Studio for around $500 or $600 used. You used to be able to buy them for $500 all day long, but people raise prices and everybody thinks that their guitar is worth a lot. People don't understand that when you buy a guitar new, you lose a lot of its value when you try to sell. I wouldn't spend more than $500 or $600 on a Les Paul Studio. And the difference between the Les Paul Studio is I had a 2015 model that had a really wide neck on it. I didn't like it, so I ended up just getting rid of it. I feel like that, and plus, even though I didn't pay that much for it, I actually traded something for it, I always felt like I was going to damage it. And this guitar, even though I only paid $200, I do still feel like I'm going to damage it, but if I actually do damage it, I'm not out a lot of money. And I I do think that there is some ethical issues with buying stuff that's counterfeit. Uh, the guitar is pretty nice. I mean, when I was looking to buy one of these, I just wanted to see what it looked like and what it sounded like. Okay, we got your fake serial number on the back. Let's see if you can see that. I don't know. Tuners. I really like it. Now, I did order a fake Strat before, but I think that if you're going to order a fake guitar, you might as well order a Les Paul, because Les Pauls are so unattainable. Like real Les Pauls. I'm not talking about studios. But a Fender guitar, you can buy a pretty affordable Fender guitar, so I wouldn't bother ordering a fake Fender. But for a Les Paul, I think it's pretty nice. I'm going to see if I can play a little bit more, see if my amp doesn't act up. Alright, so that's about as clean as my playing gets lately. Let's just see some more close-ups of what you're actually getting when you buy one. I'm not saying you should buy one. I mean, you shouldn't really be listening to someone like me. I mean, there are ethical concerns, and I do feel bad for what's been going on with Gibson. Now, some of the criticism I would have for this guitar would be, I feel like the fretboard doesn't really look really healthy. It looks rather dry. Now, I hydrated it the first time I got it. Not hydrated, I put oil on the fretboard, and it looked good for a little while, and I didn't use that much. I've seen some people do videos where they put a bunch of oil on normal guitars. Like I saw a Trogley video where he was putting oil, you know, mineral oil on his board. He's putting a lot on there. I was always under the impression that you only put a little bit. So I put a little bit of oil on this, and it looked good for a while, but I feel like it already needs some. I put different strings on it. That's the only thing that I did to it. I'm sure if you look, you can see little things that aren't right. Like a real Gibson would have what they call fret nubs, which would be where the binding goes over the fret. This doesn't have that. It doesn't bother me because I'm not trying to sell it to anybody. In fact, it's illegal to sell these, and I see people trying to sell them all the time. They're usually trying to sell them for a small profit. Sometimes people try to sell them for a big profit. Like one time, I was at a pawn shop, and I saw a Chibson like this, and they said, this is a replica. They called it a replica, and they wanted $500 for it. Now, I assume they must have taken a huge loss buying it or something, but there's no way that they're worth $500. I wouldn't even bother putting different pickups in them because the pickups that are in this guitar already sound good. Now, when I bought a Chibson Flying V, which I'll probably do a video on later, the pickups came and they were not wax potted. But after I wax potted them, they ended up sounding good. I feel like most pickups generally sound pretty good. You have to go pretty far. You have to. I mean, in the case of the Flying V, where the pickups were not wax potted, I could see someone buying new pickups. But wax potting pickups is not very difficult. Now, I think it does not make any sense to put hundreds of dollars into something like this. I feel like the point of having it is that it's cheap. And if your pickups come and they're not wax potted, just wax pot them. It's a simple procedure. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And since I've done it once, I already have all the stuff to do them if I ever need to do them again. I mean, if I ever buy another guitar that's not wax potted. I would really stay away from modding stuff or putting on new hardware. I do notice that the hardware on my other Chibson, which is a Flying V, I do notice that the screws become they become stripped very easily when you're adjusting. As far as playability, this thing is, I'd say it's just like any other guitar. You know, and I have played a real Gibson Les Paul, and I played one of my friends, and I'm gonna be honest. There's a little bit of difference, but not really that much. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of difference. Now, I'm not a professional, and I know some people are like, well, you don't notice the difference, but really, a guitar is a guitar. I can remember when I was younger, guitars weren't all very nice, but every guitar was nice, but because we got computers and they're CNC machining computers, I mean, the likelihood of you getting a guitar that's complete junk is pretty low unless you're going into, like, you know, first act guitars. And even those, I had a first act that played really well. It ended up getting smashed at a show, but I'd have to tell a different story about that. But the guitar's nice. It's not like it's going to fall apart or anything. I'd say it's right up there with an Epiphone, only you're not paying an Epiphone price. They're probably made in the same factory. Now, maybe Gibson and Epiphone shot themselves in the foot by having guitars made overseas, because I have a feeling that they learned a lot of how to make guitars from making guitars for Epiphone. And that's just the way that the global economy is. The cost of labor in China is a lot less than it is in the United States. And don't think that I'm telling you to buy one of these and that I don't appreciate a real Gibson, because I do. The Gibsons that I have are older, but I still would never be able to afford a Les Paul Standard. But we'll just give more shots of the guitar. Hopefully some of these shots turn out. There's the logo. Hopefully I fixed my amp, because if you didn't notice, my amp was going in and out. But I think I need some new tubes. But it's just like any other guitar. Any good guitar player can make it sound good.